Ms. Bostic is a woman of many talents. She has worked for the U.S. government as a postmaster, the secretary for Friends of Emancipation Park, the chairman of the 4th Ward Redevelopment Authority, and many more. But one of the most important jobs she has served is working with nonprofit organizations.
And I've spent a lot of my time working with organizations that work with women and children. For when I was your age and growing up, there were limited things that women and children could do.
Ms. Bostic's passion for helping women and girls seeps through to her present from her past experiences as a woman trying to find opportunities in times of repression.
There were always limitations, whatever I was doing, that were placed on women. Women had to not only believe in themselves, but they also had to be willing to work with other women.
Part of Ms. Bostic's appreciation for her passion stems from her admiration for her mother.
A role model for me was actually my mother, because she started me to working and having an interest in working with the YWCA. So I kind of grew up watching her do work with the YWCA and learning how to work with other girls. So I would make it a point to learn to work with people in those areas and then go to them and find out, how can other women do this? Why are we not doing this? It's amazing. You're gonna learn, you're gonna work with people you never thought you would work with, because it didn't seem like it was possible. But I learned that it is possible, but you've gotta wanna do it.
In addition to being the individual changemaker she is today, Ms. Bostic is also the great-granddaughter of Jack Yates. He was a slave and moved from Virginia to Texas. Eventually, he bought his own freedom after being taken on business trips and saving his own money. After doing so, he became one of the first free black people in Houston and helped found Freedmanstown, known today as 4th Ward, which is also the same area of Houston where Ms. Bostic works in Emancipation Park.
Some of the many things that I learned, for he was a man that had a great value system and a man of great integrity.
She takes the following message from Jack Yates' legacy.
I realized the more that if you wanted something done and if you wanted to help make something change, you had to be a part of making that happen. You couldn't wait on somebody else to do it, but you had to work with other people because they had to be a part of the change. You couldn't change it by yourself.
This message of collaboration does in fact hold true for the founding of 4th Ward. Jack Yates did not work alone to establish Freedmanstown, but he collaborated with his son, Rutherford Yates, and the community of the Antioch Church, where he worked as a pastor.
But different kinds of limitations. I was not enslaved, so I've always been what, quote unquote, might be considered a free person. But quote unquote, I was also a person who was discriminated against because of the color of my skin.
Mr. Yates was a very skilled person. As stated previously, since he learned how to read, write, and do math from a slave owner's son, but despite having much greater knowledge compared to the newly freed slaves at the time, he did not keep this knowledge to himself, but shared it with the rest of the community.
But he was willing to share that with them because he wanted them to be able to do it. And I think that's one of the greatest lessons I took from him.
Ms. Bostic takes Mr. Yates' legacy of fighting against discrimination into her own personal beliefs.
I believe that each person has a purpose for being here no matter what. And again, when you get opportunities to be able to work with other people and collaborate with other people, don't pass them up. Accept them and take them, and you'll be surprised at what you will learn and how it would empower you as an individual.
She believes that keeping this practice of valuing every person is also yet another step towards this crucial platform of being able to collaborate and connect with others.
When working with the national organization, I had the opportunity many times to work with women from other countries and to work in groups with them. And so that just gave me so much insight into how people think that I knew nothing about.
As Mr. Yates's legacy has passed down to Ms. Bostic has reciprocated this action onto her children. Speaking more about it is her son, who is a civil rights activist in Houston.
She had us watching Watergate as children and always spoke to us about the importance of voting.
To give some context, the Watergate scandal was arguably one of the worst political scandals in U.S. history. After 5 men broke into the Watergate buildings in D.C., which was later revealed to be an attempt of political sabotage, the current president at the time, Richard Nixon, and the rest of the White House staff tried to cover up any involvement in the break-in. Although there was skepticism going around, Nixon was still reelected for his second term. However, through intense investigation, it was eventually proven that many government officials, including the president, were heavily involved in the sabotage. Ms. Bostic's emphasis on this scandal in showing the importance of voting to her children shows how insistently she taught her children to form their own opinions and be trailblazers, similar to Jackie Yates and herself.
So it's better to be informed as opposed to misinformed. These are serious matters that you learn growing up where I grew up.
Ms. Bostic's aforementioned idea of collaboration also applies to historical events, which her son's studies in civil rights have conveyed.
Without the marches in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963, you don't have the Civil Rights Act of 1964. What came next? The Voting Rights Act of 1965. All because of collaboration.
To elaborate more on the idea of collaboration applying to history, in the Birmingham marches, the local African American community needed to collaborate with each other to express their sentiment and need for change. The passing of the Civil Rights Act needed to be approved by Congress, which required collaboration between the Black community and the federal government. And the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was signed into act by President Lyndon B. Johnson, required the collaboration between the communities and the president himself, which is why this notion of collaboration is so important in creating change. After all the insight Ms. Bostic has offered, she has one closing remark as a message to the Audi community.
My message would be to you is to respect each other, care for each other as human beings. Whatever your dream is, to be successful, you have to learn to respect and work with each other.